We've got breaking news yet again on Stefon Diggs. This one's pretty interesting because it has some very unique ramifications and potentially motivations behind it. The Texans voiding the final 3 years of Stefon Diggs' contract. Essentially, the two parties agreeing to a 1-year deal, which makes this man motivated to get another bag after this year. And it doesn't put the Texans on the hook long term. But that also shows the Texans aren't wanting to commit to him long term. So there's a lot to break down here, but this could be a very good thing for Stefon Diggs. The Fantasy Football Show, breaking news show, live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. That's not this show. This is the live when big news breaks show. Begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So Diggs is essentially on a 1-year deal now. He is on a 1-year deal, and the impact of that is like tenfold here. I mean, there's so many different layers to it. Number one, you could say, hey, the Texans obviously aren't that invested in him, right? You got to think about it from that perspective first and say that if you thought this was the best move you've ever made, if you thought this was a long-term move, if you thought this man was 100% going to be a changed man, if you thought that he had a lot left in the tank, you probably wouldn't fully want to do this on the surface level, because you're essentially making this guy a 1-year deal. But the fact that he is now going to be motivated, because if he goes out there and craps the bed on a 1-year deal and goes to look for a new bag, he's not going to find it. So it's kind of like a catch-22 in all of this, because I don't know that the motivation is there for the Texans. I know the motivation is going to be there for this guy, Stefon Diggs, but is he going to get the opportunities he wants to feed the motivation? I don't know. This to me tells me there's no way you unseat a Tank Dell or a Nico Collins from your lineup, from your routines, from your arsenal, and move them aside for a player that is playing on a 1-year deal. So this, in a sense, really helps him and hurts him at the same time. I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, this is great for the Texans, and it might be because they're not tied to him, but it kind of telegraphs that he's not really as important as it was made out to be, just because you're literally saying we only want 1 year of it. But he is turning 31 this year. You probably only want 1 year of it anyway. So again, there's tons of different angles and ways to look at this. But bottom line is, this is shocking, to say the least. It's not something I would have expected both parties to want to pursue. Diggs clearly feels like he's got a lot left in the tank. Diggs clearly feels like he can go get one more fat, massive contract. But there's a real chance Diggs gets cut by midseason. There's a real chance that this situation ends up becoming something where Stefon Diggs thinks this is a great move for him. The Texans make a safe move by doing this, but they ignite a player that wants to be fed the ball more because he's working for his bag in 2025, and he starts to unravel, and then they cut him by midseason because the ties are not great. They move money toward the front end of this contract, and I can read this to you here from Adam Schefter. Added incentives for Diggs. As a part of the Buffalo-Houston trade, the Texans wipe out the final 3 years on Diggs' contract, giving him the ability to become a free agent after the season, league sources tell ESPN. The Texans also took the $3.5 million guarantee to Diggs next season and moved that into the season, so they're giving him that in advance, obviously, giving him a raise and assuring him the $22.52 million guaranteed money in 2024. But if Diggs plays the way he wants, Houston hopes he will hit the free agent market next offseason with the ability to make it count. Houston now anticipates getting the best version of Diggs. Again, I initially, as soon as this broke, I started to try and digest it, and there's just too many angles to it to say for sure how it's going to go down. There's too many angles to it to say for sure that this will motivate Diggs. Well, will it though? Because it certainly puts him last in the pecking order. There's no way you're moving a guy like Diggs on a 1-year deal. You basically said we're renting you for 1 year, ahead of Dell, ahead of Nico, jostling around your offense, changing things. It's the rapport's already built between Nico and Dell. And the discount on Dell's the one that's the winner. I think Nico is going to get discounted, but he already needed to because he shouldn't have belonged in the second round anyway. People were overdrafting Nico to the moon, and I like Nico, 100,000% like Nico. But this is one of those situations where it just doesn't. To me, this doesn't necessarily add up to what it seems like it's going to add up right now, because at the end of the day, is this guy going to get fed what he wants to get fed? I don't know that he's gonna. I don't know that he's gonna. The phone lines are open. Dial in if you want to discuss this. But this is kind of crazy news. And we'll go from there. Texans get wide receiver depth that could have used last year. Diggs 706. I think what we're talking about here with this value is we're probably talking about something along the lines of a 7, 8, 900 yard season. I'd venture to say it's not above 1,000 yards. I'd venture to say he's not catching more than 6, 7 touchdowns. I'd venture to say that doesn't put him in a very good position to go get this bag that he thinks he's going to get. And I think that people are going to absolutely run away from Nico and Dell to the tune where both of them become values. I think more so Dell than Nico, because running away from Nico only puts him back, I think, where he should have been. You know, if Nico falls to round 3, that's where he should have been drafted anyway, because Dell's eating into Nico's work more than people were accounting for in Nico's previous, before the Diggs trade, second round value, which was way too high for Nico. So crazy. There are a lot of people that are going to assume Diggs is going to have a huge year. There are going to be people that think Diggs will get cut. I think Diggs eventually could very well open the door to some sort of controversy, some sort of feed me, some sort of giving up on plays. And Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans are not going to put up with that. And this is an organization that will move on very quickly. They've already proven how smart they are. They're such a smart organization. Some people saying, hey, Smitty, they're giving up a second for a rental. This is a good attempt and a good move. And there's also, if Diggs moves on next year, they get another pick out of this. They're very smart. They're very smart. The inner workings of this deal are crazy too. And to do what they did to get themselves off the hook of any more future money, and all they got to do is give Diggs a raise this year. They're not really focused or worried about this year's money, right? After this year's over, it's a fresh start. It's next year. They're playing with the house's money essentially at this point, and I don't mind that move. I don't mind giving Diggs a little bit of a bump now so you can get rid of him and not be on the hook for future years. The only question you'd have is, hey, is it worth doing the trade in general at all if you're really that worried about getting off the hook? That's the only thing I would say that I come full circle back to, is that, like, if you don't feel confident that Diggs can help you for more than 1 year, is this you admitting this is probably not going to work before it even begins? Tank Dell's the real winner here. Tank Dell's the real winner. Stroud's the big winner. Stroud, of course, is the biggest winner.
Liftoff of mission 3, 2, 1, 0.
And give up a second. Everyone keeps saying give up a second rounder for a rental. Yes. I mean, you can definitely consider it that way, but you could also say that there's other inner workings to this deal you don't know about, like the compensation pick they're also going to get back if he moves on next year. There's so much to it that you don't even see. Tyler, what's up, my guy?
Totally agree with you. Either one, this 1 year deal is a prove it to me, or two, you can either see it as a Hassan Reddick thing, where he went on national television and said, "You haven't seen nothing yet," where he's going to prove it to everybody, saying, "You made a mistake by trading me."
I think that's what his intention is for sure. I think Diggs wants to go. First of all, he's on a 1 year deal now, essentially, so he's playing for money. So he's motivated. But again, the problem here is the Texans, by doing this, are regulating him as the third option, as the third mouth to feed. There's no way you're moving aside Dell and Diggs in your offense. This is a clear indication that he's not a long-term piece of this offense. And so he is the third mouth to feed, essentially. And he's also turning 31 this year. So turning 31 this year, old dog, thinks he's invincible. He overcalculated how valuable he's going to be coming off of this season. And you might be right, Tyler. In his mindset, he thinks he's going to come out firing, prove everybody wrong. Tyler, he'll be 32 the next year. He'll turn 32 during the next season, the season he's going to get this big bag. He's not going to get a big bag. No one gives a big bag to turning 32-year-old wide receivers, especially if they don't have the year that he thinks he can have regulated as the number 3 wide receiver. The Texans making him a 1 year deal tells you all you need to know as far as the pecking order of these wide receivers.
True, it all depends on what he does with this 1 year. The
True.
Texans are saying, okay, you do this 1 year. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad,
if you're good, you're good. What
later.
though? If you're good, you're good. What? He goes to the market. He doesn't get retained by the Texans. That's what doesn't make sense. Even in Schefter's statement, the way he said that is this isn't a good team move. But if Diggs plays well in the way he wants, the Houston Texans hope he will hit the free agent market. If he plays well enough to go get a big fat bag, that means he's being shoved out into the spotlight and being fed, and you don't do that. You don't put that kind of volume on a player, that's turning 31, but on a player that you just said we don't want to have you long term. We're regulating down to a number 1. I'm sorry, a 1 year deal as the number 3.
Old and just balls out, the Texans will say, okay, we'll reassign you to a more than 1 year contract.
I understand what you're saying, but he's going to have it. Let's just say in your fairy tale world, he balls out, okay? And he's going to have his say of where he goes. Maybe he wants to return to where he balled out. Sure, that's also a possibility. But, bro, he can't ball out as the number 3 wide receiver. You know, in my opinion, not to the tune of getting a big fat bag turning 32 years old after this season. That's my point. It doesn't matter. He's not going to be getting the kind of feeding that he is going to need to get the bag he thinks he's going to get. There's just no way. He's not taking the place of Tank Dell. He's not taking the place of Nico. He's slipping into an offense that definitely could use another wide receiver. And he's going to get fed probably around, no matter what he wants, he's going to get fed 700, 800, 900 yards, maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 touchdowns.
So I guess my last question would be do you think he's more worried about, since he's getting old, is he more worried about getting fed or getting paid?
I think he is worried about both because
Odell is old.
He's worried about both, Tyler, because getting fed helps get him paid. He can't get paid if he doesn't get fed. He wants both of those things. The problem is his attitude is directly tied to whether he's getting fed, and he thinks that this is going to make him, this deal, a superstar next year in the offseason. But once he starts not getting that many meals, that many full-course meals, he's going to start barking. Once he starts barking, Nick Caserio, D'Amico Ryans, they're not going to put up with that. So we'll see what this does. I think this deal, it has 2 ways it could go. One, Diggs could perform very well with what he's given. He realizes, it is what it is. He has a 907 season. Somehow has some value coming off of the year. People say, hey, it was a very crowded offense, a lot of mouths to feed, and they understand that. We're going to give him a shot, give him a deal. But the stronger likelihood is that he's going, where are my passes? I'm the number one wide receiver here. I'm better than these guys. Feed me the ball. And then he starts giving up on plays, starts dropping the ball. Texans are winning, and he's not even happy. I mean, I don't know how you can change the way you are. Diggs is a very selfish man. He's a very selfish man. He's a very selfish player. He's a very egotistical player. He's very diva-like. He seems like he's on the, I don't know, the fast track to AB's state right now, but he's in like some sort of slow track to it. He's a little bit off his rocker, it seems, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But Diggs certainly is not in a position, just because of this contract, to get more work. You know, this deal indicates the Texans, like, let me ask you a question, Tyler. You run a business, okay? You run a bank, let's say. Okay, and you got a guy coming over, transfer from another bank. He's on a 3-year contract. Okay, you got 2 or 3 other up and coming bankers. They're absolutely amazing. Okay, the new banker coming over, you put him on a 1-year deal. A 1-year deal. He had a 3-year deal, but you convert it to a 1-year deal to motivate him. Okay, you're just not sure about him. You want to motivate him a little bit. Put him on a 1-year deal. Okay, now he's not committed to the bank at all. Probably not returning the next year. He's going to be there, a 1-year rental banker for your bank, okay? Are you going to put him in more of a position of authority, of trust, holding the fate of the team? Are you going to put him in bigger positioning than the 2 up-and-coming bankers that are at your bank when you just made him a 1-year rental guy? Are you going to put him in the driver's seat of the bank? You're not.
If I personally think that he's a 1-year rental guy, no.
Yeah. That's what happened. That's what
that's
what happened.
Is the question 1-year rental?
Is the question?
Or is the question, would I have these 2 up-and-comers be where they are and have the 1-year guy be at the bottom of the food chain?
I think there's no way you're moving aside Tank Dell and Nico Collins and putting Diggs in a more prominent role. Now, can Diggs from a third wide receiver role still flourish in this offense? Will he find a lot of open lanes, and will he be fed in a way that just makes a whole lot of sense for his style of play? Could he still eat 1,100 yards and 8 TDs on little droppings of targets? Maybe. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. But you have to ask yourself, did he drop off or did he not last year? Because he was 30 years old. He turns 31 this year. He looked like crap the entirety of the midseason point on, even into the playoffs, even when there was despicable drop in the playoffs that made Josh Allen not even trust him at the end of the game when he was wide open. He said, I'm not throwing it to you. You dropped the ball. You don't even care. I'm throwing it downfield. F it. And he slung it into the end zone. Like, everyone's acting like Diggs is going to have this everything back on point. I don't know if he's there anymore. And the other thing you got to remember is changing teams for a wide receiver is one of the toughest things for a player in the National Football League. Wide receivers moving teams is the most difficult position moving teams. So you have that. You have that. That in itself is a problem. That's it. I mean, is it impossible that he is the number one wide receiver on this offense in 2024? No, not impossible. But, bro, there's so many red flags here to tell you that he's not going to be. Number one, Nico and Dell looked amazing last year. They looked better than Diggs. Okay, Diggs looked great in the beginning of the year, but he looked like crap the entirety of the second half. What's more likely, Diggs was hiding dormantly and he's going to just explode and become an elite receiver again, or that he dropped off a little because he's 30, turning 31 years old? What's more likely of having literally half a season of nothing? Probably that he dropped off a little bit in talent mixed with he was dogging it and he had a bad attitude. But when he comes back into, okay, I'm going to give it my all mode again, is he going to be better than Tank Dell? Is he going to be better than Nico Collins? Two fresh young kids that are out there, speedsters, making themselves look amazing, okay? And is Stroud, who's built this amazing rapport with Nico and with Dell, his two buddies, his two best friends that anybody could have, is he gonna throw the ball more to Diggs? Probably not. Are there gonna be design plays for Diggs more so than Dell and Nico? Probably not. All right, Tyler, got to run. Appreciate you, bro.
Bye.
All right. All right. Hey, call in, guys. Phone numbers on the screen right here. You guys got a question, concern, a take on this? Bring it in. My initial take, again, is very simple. I don't think this ends as well as Diggs wants it to end. I think the Texans are very smart to get out of the future commitment of this thing, but it does call into question why you did it to begin with if you don't believe it's worth more than the 1 year. But it is a fun experiment, and I probably would have done it anyway. If he was on a 1 year deal, I probably would have still done it. The Texans are smart. The inner workings of this trade are pretty amazing when you really break it all down. People don't realize how smart the Houston Texans are, from Nick Caserio down to D'Amico. This is an unbelievably smart franchise run by the best GM in the National Football League in Nick Caserio, a guy that got rid of Deshaun Watson in the best trade in the history of the NFL, linked to the worst contract in NFL history in Deshaun Watson. Nick Caserio knows what in the hell he's doing. And to turn this into a 1 year deal and get rid of future commitment to a receiver, a diva receiver, is an amazing move. Doesn't matter if you gave him a little bit of a raise. They took the $3 million from next year's signing bonus and moved it into a guarantee for him this year to motivate him. And they said, you want to be a free agent, get your big bag, son. We'll take your 3 years. We'll avoid them. We'll make this a 1 year deal. Let's motivate this man. At the end of the day, he probably would have been what he is no matter what. If he's demotivated, he's going to be demotivated. If he was going to cry and complain and get cut, he was going to cry and complain and get cut. Part of me says this sets up a release mid-season more than it was before. If this guy goes off the rails, they got him on a 1 year deal now. They'll cut him. He's already paid. Cut him. Who cares? Get him out of there. So the odds of him getting cut just got upped. The odds of him doing better just got upped because he's fighting for money. But the odds of him flipping out and wanting more targets and making a scene, I think that was all the same no matter what, because this guy can't get out of his own head. And he's a stubborn, selfish man. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Houston is such a smart organization. Smitty, do you feel a little sour because you're such a Josh Allen guy? I don't think C-Mac, welcome back. I don't think you C-Mac's new. Everybody welcome C-Mac. He hasn't been here for a while. He must be new here. Josh Allen's value has never been better, C-Mac. I don't know what you've been watching. I don't know what you've been paying attention to. Why don't you focus on keeping Ayuk in the building? Why don't you focus on that ridiculous organization in the offseason, the 49ers, and how they operate in retaining players? Amazing in season, awesome offensive coordinating. Adam Peters, are you a little sour you lost Adam Peters to Washington, because he's the reason you have Brock Purdy and the reason your head coach has a job? Because had Adam Peters not assisted in drafting Brock Purdy, all the responsibility of the Trey Lance debacle would have fallen on Shanahan's lap, and he would have been out of a job, and you wouldn't have been where you're at. Focus on that, C-Mac. But C-Mac, we appreciate you being here. You clearly haven't been here for a while. Josh Allen to the freaking moon. The only bitterness here is that I don't own more shares of Josh Allen. Ron Navy, you're live.
Hey, I just saw come across my thing, breaking news on Josh Allen. He's not happy. He might request a trade.
No, Josh Allen's fine.
Yes, it is true.
Did you
it's just not the same Josh. the Jacksonville Josh Allen.
Oh, yeah. I was like, Ron's, this has happened to Ron before where the fake Schefter, I think, has got you.
No, it's Josh Allen. It's just not the same Josh Allen that everybody's thinking. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, you didn't get me, Ron, but appreciate you.
Yes, you thought
anyway.
I was being a crazy again.
So, what do you think about Diggs' situation? This is a smart move, but God, Houston's smart. They really are smart. The only thing that I'll say that, again, this does is it almost puts, if you were to say there's a negative here for Houston, because to get him on a one-year deal, it makes it very easy for them to cut him if they need to, and it makes it very easy to try and motivate him. The only thing that's a negative here is that you're essentially saying that your commitment to him is not going to be super, deep, because you're assuming you only got 1 year with him. How, like I said earlier, how much ability, authority, how much are you going to give a player like that that's on the way out the door? You're not gonna replace Tank Dell or Nico or anything like that. So he has to do all this from the wide receiver 3 spot. But Houston's going to throw more than ever. They're going to be a fantastic freaking team this year. They're going to be on a whole nother level. So maybe there's enough room for the wide receiver 3 in Houston to get 908. Or maybe he does. Maybe there are 3 1,000-yard receivers, especially. I mean, even though there's going to be a shortened field, there's going to be a lot more potential red zone visits. Maybe it's touchdowns that's overloaded. Maybe just because the field will be shortened by the kickoff rules doesn't mean that the offense won't be back on the field sooner. So at the end of the day, it might not change any of the yardage. But is there a way for a team like this that's going to ramp up their passing attack? Stroud's going to get 1 more year better. Is there a world where 3 1,000-yard wide receivers can exist in this offense? And if, let's say, he does get 1,007, can he go get a bag elsewhere? I don't know. I just think that this deal makes it clear that he's not as important to them, but they want him, who he's so egotistical, to have this opportunity to go get a bag again and show himself and motivate him a little bit. It's kind of interesting. I think Houston's smart.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, it only takes the start of toxicity in the locker room to really, even though they got the out and they can cut them and do it all, once toxicity starts, it's infectious.
I wonder if when they decided to make this a 1-year deal, if there's already a blow up. I wonder if Diggs already did something to where they're like, holy crap. Can we make this a 1-year deal, Al? Al, get on the books. Al, get that calculator out. Al from accounting started going at it. Maybe the accountant for they get the accountant for the Niners involved. The person that doesn't carry the one. The Niners got hit with the Maggie from accounting over in San Francisco. Cost them a draft pick. Maybe get her involved. Maybe she's gonna move these numbers around. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Diggs, to me, the big winner here. Big winner, obviously, Stroud and Kincaid, and eventually Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to be a huge winner in all this. Anybody thinks Josh Allen took a hit? Anybody thinks that Josh Allen took a hit by this doesn't know ball, because Josh Allen was held back by Diggs. I mean, Josh Allen dropped a 50 touchdown season from start to finish last year, and half of that the second half of the entirety of the year, Diggs did nothing for him. Diggs held him back. So it's going to be amazing when they fill that empty spot, which they will. Right now, everyone's judging Josh Allen with an empty chair. Once they put Leggett in there, once they draft a Malachi Corley, once they draft anybody, or make a trade for Ayuk, make a trade for Higgins. We got C-Mac in here still. C-Mac's going to be like, Ayuk's not getting traded. Any one of those moves, whether it's a rookie or making an offer that the Niners or the Bengals can't refuse, if there becomes and develops more unrest between player and team, then it's like we'll be back here watching everybody revolt Josh Allen back into the number one quarterback spot if people are not astute enough to know that he still is the number one quarterback of fantasy football. Josh Allen is still number one or number two or number three at least in the National Football League for quarterbacking. There's just no doubt about it in my mind. This is a top 3 NFL quarterback. This is the number one fantasy football quarterback. There's just no arguing that. But you'd have C-Mac in here, who my boy C-Mac's still in here. He would take Purdy over Josh Allen. Confirm it, C-Mac, so everybody knows at least where you're at. Confirm it. You'd take, tell us, C-Mac, you'd take Purdy over Josh Allen right now, wouldn't you? at least let people know you're a little cuckoo before you move on. Diggs played poorly second half of the season and was still wide receiver 9 even on the high. That's because he did so well at the beginning of the year, though, bro. You know, his beginning of his year was like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. So he was off to a crazy start. But you can't discredit what he did, but you also can't credit him for having literally nothing the entire second half of the season and all the way through the playoffs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Purdy over Allen. I'm pretty sure he's going to come in and confirm it. Just give him a second. No, I'm a Josh guy. I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that. I think you're just you know what room you're in. You know what room you're in right now. Your entire fan base thinks that question's a joke. You'd also take Purdy over Hurts, too. You think Hurts has been figured out. Well, Ron, prediction. Give me a stat prediction for Diggs.
Oh, jeez. Because I think he'll end up blowing up or something. I think maybe 700 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Okay. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 806, which is not gonna get him the bag. And he's gonna be turning 32 that next coming season. So like he's turning 31 this year. No team's gonna give a 906 yard, 6 touchdown receiver a huge fat bag. So, yeah, I don't know. But definitely interesting. The Texans are definitely, I think, playing 3D chess while everybody's playing like not even one-dimensional checkers. They're doing such an amazing job. This organization.
Maybe their coaching staff can motivate Diggs and he'll be 1,000-yard double-digit. Who knows? It could happen.
You never know. You definitely can't rule it out.
But I'm just going by history. I think he's gonna have a blow-up.
Yeah, the blow-ups, the attitude, the giving up, the not caring. It's not like he's gonna all of a sudden care about other people. You know, he may want that. He may be motivated for that, but push comes to shove, he is who he is. And then he's 30 turning 31. And he's third in the pecking order. All those things just kind of like add up to being like, okay, how it's not impossible. And it's certainly, I'll be honest with you, like, again, not impossible. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to draft an underdog team, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, links in the description. Hit that promo code. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go into Underdog and I'm going to draft Stroud, Diggs, Dell, and Nico and Mixon all on one team. Just to have it. I'm gonna, I looked at it a little bit last night. It was so hard to do. You have to take Diggs like in round 1 in order to do it. And so I'm like, I didn't have the balls to do it last night. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it tonight. Because like, not only that, you all the people around you are looking at you like, this guy doesn't know anything. He's taking, but in Underdog, in order to do it, you'd have to take Diggs in 1. You'd have to take probably Stroud in 2. You'd have to reach on both of them just to get a head start on Dell and Nico, and get Dell and Nico in 3 and 4 if you're lucky and it all falls right. Then Mixon, I don't even know if you can get Mixon with that, but you could at least get the entire passing attack. And I want it. I do want a piece of it in Underdog in one freaking draft. I do. So I'm not writing him off. I probably want to own a share of Diggs somewhere. I'm just being completely transparent here. But it doesn't mean that my logical side, my advice-giving side of this isn't going to say there are a lot of reasons why this probably won't unravel the way or unfold the way Diggs wants it to, and it will unfold the way that the Texans assumed it might, so they made this one-year deal just to be safe. It's a smart move. It's a good bet. It's a good gamble, and I would do it too. Houston, Texas, I've said it from the beginning of this show, and since, way before last year, the Texans know what in the hell they're doing. Nick Caserio is the best GM in football. And so this is a smart play. Bringing Diggs in was a smart move. Someone needed to try it.
Yeah. If you try that in underdog, somebody's liable, if they catch on to what you're doing after your first 2 picks, they're going to throw a wrench in it on purpose.
I know.
Because that's just the way they are. They try to
part of me wonders, do you think I get Dell and Nico in 3 and 4? I probably have to take Nico in 3, and I think he probably falls, and then Dell probably definitely falls to 4 now. I think I could get it done. The problem is you have to reach on Diggs in 1 and Stroud in 2 to get it in motion.
If somebody throws a wrench in there and you don't get your last guy, you don't get Dell or whatever.
It'll look like you're throwing the whole thing too. People will be like, "This guy's out here just hitting buttons, man."
Started too.
Yeah, and here's the part too, Cardinal. We haven't even got to this part yet. The Texans, one of the most improved parts about this entire team is the defense. This defense is maybe top 4, top 5 in the National Football League in 2024. You want my sleeper defense in 2024? It's the Houston Texans. This team from top to bottom is dangerous. Absolutely dangerous from top to bottom. Texans defense is going to make noise. That's your sleeper D. Hey, Smitty, who do I draft? Sleeper defense? Texans. Go get them. Go do it live. We'll be back in a little bit. We've got, how many people we got in here? We got 180 from YouTube, 71 from Twitter. I don't know how many from Instagram. I'm going to be back I'm going to leave and come right back because I like to make these videos, have everything self-contained in them. And the news I need to go live on in about 2 to 5 minutes. About 2 to 5 minutes, I'm going to be back. We're doing the Rashee Rice. Admitted he was driving the Lamborghini, and we're going to break that down. So everybody come back, please. We got a super chat. Did I not get to this one? Perps! Ron Navy, Josh Allen to Minnesota told you. Perps with the $10 hauler. I didn't even realize there was a $10 hauler, Perps. I'm sorry, Perps to the moon.
Yeah. He also did some membership gifts.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Good God. Look, what is my problem?
Don't worry, Perps. I'll keep Smitty on top of things.
Perps with 10 gifted memberships. Perps to the moon.
Let's go, mashed potatoes.
Yeah, buddy.
Perps, you here? Or did Perps leave? Did Perps feel disrespected? And he said, Smitty, you've changed. Let's see if Perps hung around. He may not have hung around. C-Mac says he misses D'Amico. I bet you do. You're going to miss Adam Peters more than you miss D'Amico. But D'Amico's a baller. You should have kept D'Amico over your head coach. C-Mac.
No, Perps there.
Perps is in the building? Okay. You should have kept D'Amico. D'Amico's a better coach than Shanny. Perps, hey, Smitty, who's the sleeper kicker? Houston Texans.
Let's go, mashed potatoes.
Yeah, buddy.
Everything Texans is the answer today, Perps. Give me some time on the sleeper kickers. I do ignore the kicker position quite a bit, but it's just not something that A, appeals to me, and B, thank Perps if you got a gifted membership, and B, it's so ever changing, and past the big 4 or 5, it really comes down to average. it's really one of those things where, like, once you're averaging a certain amount of points, it's kind of like fantasy baseball. You don't really change as a kicker. And so people will ask me a question like, hey, what kicker do I start this week? I'm like, well, who's scoring more in your league? Well, he's scoring more by about 15 points on the year, then start him. Like that, weather, all that, like sometimes it can affect it, but for the most part, like these guys are going to score what they score, and trying to predict matchups sometimes will backfire on you.
I have an undrafted super sleeper kicker.
Okay.
Won't be drafted, and it's a super sleeper kicker.
Okay.
Goes by the name Smitty.
Yeah, we do have footage of this guy at the Super Bowl. Here we go. Let's play it. The footage isn't gonna play. I gotta find. I think I deleted the video on accident. It was in a folder that I'll find it. I got it somewhere else. I'll have to put it back on my computer, and we'll put it up. All right. Hey, I'll come back. Everybody watching right now, we're coming right back. Refresh the YouTube channel. We're coming right back to talk about Rashee Rice. Admitted he was driving the Lamborghini. Is he cooked? Is he done? Is he getting jail time? Is he going to skate from this even though he was driving? It seems like this thing's going in a negative direction for him. The whole direction of getting off scot-free, I don't know that it's going that direction anymore, because this is a very, very it's going backwards. He's taking steps backwards from the whole ordeal. The fact that he's admitting it is good. The fact that he's not trying to say, hey, somebody else was driving, even though there's video footage, at least he's going in that direction. But this is still a guy that walked away from a scene of an accident with a 6-car pileup where people were potentially injured, and he just let him sit there. As were all of his friends. This guy makes poor choices, hangs out with the wrong people. And all these people in the car, both carfuls of entourage, none of them tried to help anybody in a 6-car pileup on a freeway that totaled over $1 million in vehicles. I think that says something about your friends. I think it says something about you when you're going to walk off the freeway. And all nonchalant. They didn't care about what people were doing back there inside a crushed vehicle. They just walked away. So we'll talk about this and what this means. The admitting that he was driving, putting this out there. I like Perps' take. What Perps thinks now that he's admitted he's the driver of the Lambo. We'll see. I mean, it's almost like you go up to an officer, you say, officer, this is my crime. Like, you can't, it's one thing for things to get overlooked. It's another thing to walk up and you're admitting what you did. So I don't know what this does to him, but we'll be back to break it down. Give me about 2 to 5 minutes. We'll be back. Ron, you can call back in.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, later. Thank you, Perps, for dropping the super chats. Perps to the moon. Thanks for the gifted memberships. Thank Perps if you got one. Drop them an eggplant emoji, a fire emoji, whatever the case may be. But we'll be back. We're talking Rashee Rice. 2 to 5 minutes. I'll be back. See you there.